Hi, my name is Pete Gustus, a realtor in Pennsylvania, and I'm here with Enrique Castro with Go Notary in Pennsylvania to explain what happens at closing or consummation and the process of completing a sale after you have your agreement of sale, your appraisal's done, all your inspections are complete, and your loan's approved. After all these parts are complete, you now have to just close or consummate your property sale. Typically 3 to 10 days before closing, a CD is sent out. It's reviewed by all parties in the transaction, and what that does is it makes you understand the total amount you need to close, your payments if you're making payments, and also if you have a cash deal, it explains the total amount you need for cash. Once everyone agrees, you're going to have to bring a certified fund check or wire funds dependent upon the bank and the title requirements. If you're not sure what those are, ask your closing agent.
All right, so once all that is taken care of, we're ready to close. So as Pete said, about 3 to 10 days before closing, you'll receive your closing disclosure, which is really going to be the most important part for you. It's going to show you exactly what this loan is costing you and what you're purchasing the home for, and go over all the fees associated with it. So first things first, your notary will ask you for 2 forms of ID. We certainly want to make sure that this loan is being signed by the correct person and the property, is being purchased by the person, who signed the agreement. So once we've taken care of the ID, typically the buyers, their realtor, and their lender will sit on one side of the table. The seller, their listing agent, and anyone else in their party will sit on the other side of the table. The notary, like myself, will sit in the middle of the table, and that is simply so that we can explain the documents to both parties, collect the signatures that need to be collected, ensure that all initials that need to be, collected are there, and we're making sure that the documents are signed correctly so that there is no delay in funding of your loan. So the first thing that you'll typically review is going to be your settlement statement. That is going to show you all of the fees associated with your loan.
Okay, and Enrique is going to explain those right here.
All right, so now you're ready to close. I've asked you for your IDs, and as we talked about earlier, we're going to review the document so you know exactly what you're signing at the closing table. So as Pete mentioned in a previously, 3 to 10 business days prior to closing, you should receive what's called your settlement statement or closing disclosure, so you can review all fees associated with the loan. So at closing, all you're really doing is confirming that the fees are correct, and if you have any questions, that would be the time to ask before signing the documents. 99.9% of the time, the numbers are going to match up exactly as what you agreed to previously. So we'll go down the closing statement here. So this is going to show you what you purchased the home for. Now, in this case, it was $346,500. We're going to go down to the different fees, and some of these fees, are lender fees that are associated with the loans, and those don't change, such as their origination fee, the condo certification. In this case, you've purchased a condo. There's the appraisal fee, there's the notary fee, the title fee, different lender fees. It's going to show you if there's any credits for taxes that were already paid or taxes that are due, and those will be figured into your closing cost. And this page continues, on to the next page with, county recording fees, and any other fees that may be associated with your loan. Once you review that, your notary will ask you to acknowledge and sign here. In most cases, the seller will also be signing there as well. So then we move on to the closing disclosure. Now, anything to do with mortgage documents is usually quite repetitive, and we repeat these things over and over again because we want to make sure that the customer understands. So here you're going to see again the total loan amount, which is the $340,200. Your interest rate is 4.375%. So your estimated monthly and principal payment is going to be $1698.57, and here you've decided to not include escrow, in this loan. If you did decide to withhold taxes and insurance payments and make them as part of your mortgage payments, then your principal and interest payment could increase, to cover those. So in this case, it stayed the same. It's the $1,698.57. Your estimated taxes and insurance on this would be $161.47. Again, not included in your monthly payment. Closing costs for this is $9,007.19, and what is needed from the borrower to close is $332,317. So that, is pretty much what the total purchase price is. If there is a lender involved, then this would actually be much lower because it's going to be coming from the lender. So if you see, as I said, everything kind of repeats itself. So your closing disclosure is going to go through all of the fees that were on your settlement statement, just in a little bit more detail. And again, you would have reviewed this before getting to the closing table. So if there are any additional fees, they would be listed on this page here. Now here's where you're going to see the total cost of the loan, your interest rate, what the interest is going to cost. And if you only made minimum payments for the term of the loan, this is the total amount that it would cost you, $618,957. Your notary will then ask you to sign and date here, keeping in mind that if your name is printed at the bottom, your notary will ask you to sign exactly as your name is printed and to date as neat as possible, because if dates cannot be read, they can be rejected when it's time to file the lien with the county. Next, I will cover your note. Again, it's going to show you the total amount of your loan. It's going to show you your interest rate when your first payment is due. In this case, it's July 1st of 2019. And it's going to show you your last payment, which is going to be 30 years from the date of this payment, because this is a 30-year loan. The bottom of the document is going to show you that this is a fixed loan. So it is a fixed rate for that 30-year term. The rest of the note is really going to cover the different aspects of the loan, any loan charges, what happens if you are late. That also reminds you that this is a loan and there's an obligation to pay. This is your contract between yourself and the bank. So your notary will then ask you to sign and date here on this note exactly as your name is printed on the bottom, keeping in mind that dates need to be as neat as possible. Here we're reminded again of what the monthly payment is. It's going to be listed here at the top. If you included insurance and taxes, in your monthly payment, and that is being withheld in escrow, it will show you a different total monthly payment amount because that will be added in. Once you've reviewed that, everything looks good, your notary will ask you again to sign and date. This is what's called the deed of trust. In Pennsylvania, it's called a mortgage, and this is what what your lender is going to use and the title company is going to use to file the lien with the county. Now, nothing in this document, can be changed. This is not from the lender. This is specific to the laws of the county and how liens need to be filed and what you can and can't do with the property. So this one here is pretty straightforward. Nothing that your lender or title company can change on this. So if you do have questions about anything specifically here, you could ask your notary or your lender. But knowing that they can't change any part of this document, this is just what the laws are for your local county. Your notary is more than likely going to flip over to the last page of this long document and ask you to sign. Here is going to be your signature page, and this is also going to be one where the notary is actually notarizing your signature, that you acknowledge that you've entered into that agreement for that mortgage. Next document that your bank may ask you to sign is going to be the addendum to the HUD-1, and this is just another signature saying that you reviewed the settlement statement that I covered with you at the very beginning of this video. Most lenders will also include an itemization of amount financed. This is the same information that was on your closing disclosure on that very last page that's going to show you exactly what the loan is going to cost you. You'll sign and date at the bottom of that page. Now, if this document is included in your closing packet, your notary will ask you to complete this. This is pretty much a statement of information. This is your lender collecting additional information from you, such as your name, home address, alternate contact information, where you want your statement to go, and etc. Very straightforward. Once you've completed that, your notary will ask you to sign and date. This packet here of documentation, this is your loan application. So you certainly can't get a loan you didn't apply for. And nowadays, a lot of things are done online, or simply, with your loan officer entering your information into the computer. But the bank does need a signed copy of your loan application. So on your loan application, there are a few places we're going to sign, and the first is at the very top of the loan application. All of this information has already been discussed with you and your lender. This is information they've collected from you and your credit report. So you can certainly review it, but we'll go ahead and move on and to the next signature. So you're going to sign again on the loan application here. And again, date, please keeping in mind that your date needs to be as neat as possible. Last page of the loan application by default, it has this extra page. Your notary will ask you to sign and date at that last page. If your loan is a VA loan, this addendum to the loan application will also be included, which will show that it is a VA loan. And this, your notary will ask you to sign. I know that it is blank up here. If you had a VA loan, this information would already be pre-generated by your escrow and title company. Now that we've reviewed the addendum for the VA loan, I'm going to ask you to sign and date here, and there's another signature and date at the bottom of the page. This form here is your 4506T, and this simply is your authorization for your lender to request transcripts of your tax returns. And if you can see here, they're looking to request the last 2 years. Please sign and date for me at the bottom here. It's the FACT Act notice. This will also, you'll be asked to sign, and it has a different name, from state to state. But all it does, is remind the borrower that if you are late on payments or you don't make your payments, the bank, has the right to report that to the credit bureaus. And in fact, they will. This document here, you're just signing saying you've received a copy of your appraisal. If you have not received a copy of your appraisal, we can certainly get you a copy by reaching out to your loan officer. Your real estate agent might even have it in their email and can shoot it over to you quickly. Please sign and date that for me. It's a fair lending notice. This is pretty much saying that the bank has notified you that they cannot discriminate when it comes to lending money. They, of course they have criteria such as credit and income, but they can't make that decision based off of age, race, gender, nationality. They have to treat everybody equally. And they do have to, by federal law, notify you of that. So please sign and date there for me. This is the notice to the home loan applicant. This again is repeating the similar information that the bank cannot discriminate as part of this application. And if you would sign and date there for me, please. Federal Equal Opportunity Credit Act, again, same information. You won't always have 3 different documents with the same information as part of your loan closing. It varies by lender. But this again is the same information, letting you know about the Equal Credit Opportunity Act that says the bank cannot discriminate as part of your loan application process. Please sign and date that I've covered that with you. This document here is your servicing disclosure statement. This pretty much is letting you know in advance that the bank does have the right to transfer servicing of your mortgage to another company. It does not say that they guarantee that they will, but it is letting you know and asking that you acknowledge with your signature and date here that should the bank, choose to, they can transfer servicing of your mortgage. This document here is your initial escrow statement. This will show you from each of your monthly payments what would go into escrow if you did have an escrow account, and how the bank intends to disperse those payments for taxes and insurance, and when they will disperse those payments. Please go ahead and sign and date at the bottom. Every home requires home insurance when it comes to a lender. This document here is you signing that you acknowledge you are required to maintain property insurance on the property for the length of the loan. Please go ahead and sign and date that we've reviewed that. This is your debt disclosure. I'm going to ask you to sign and date this. This is simply saying that since the time of your application, you have not gone out and applied for a new car loan and changed your debt to income ratio around. You also haven't maxed out your credit cards. Bank wants to make sure that you're still going to be able to afford this mortgage. Please go ahead and sign and date that for me. This document here is giving the bank permission on your behalf to verify your Social Security number with the Social Security Administration. Please complete your information here, the name and address, and then I'll ask you to sign and date. These 6 pages here, I know it's a lot to look at and can be a little bit scary, but this is going to show you every payment you're going to make on your loan from the first to the 360th payment at the end of your term, and what from that payment is going to your interest and what from that payment is going to your principal, including the total amount you will have paid off. Please sign and date for me. Now, mortgage fraud is very real, and it is quite frankly illegal to apply for a mortgage in someone else's name that is not yours. The FBI includes this in your loan package and asks that you sign and date that you are aware that mortgage fraud is against federal law. This document here, it's again going to vary by lender, but this is you signing and dating, giving the bank the permission to move the funds from your payment that were meant for escrow into an escrow account, for your benefit. This document here talks about flood insurance. If your property requires flood insurance, you would have certainly already known about it before we got to the closing table. This document is just asking you to sign and date that should your property require flood insurance, you're aware that you're required to maintain that flood insurance. Next document here is called the W-9. This W-9 again is going to certify that that is your Social Security number. It's also you certifying that you are a United States citizen or other United States person, such as a permanent resident. And this form, just asks that you sign and date here. Now, to prevent mortgage fraud, as we talked about with the FBI document, federal law requires that your lender collect 2 forms of ID from every customer. This is why I asked you for the 2 forms of ID in the very beginning of our closing. So I will actually complete this form. I'm going to be documenting your identification here for your lender. Once I've done that, I may or may not need you to sign this form. It's going to vary by lender. This affidavit here is asking you to verify that that is your name. That is the only name you go by, and to give us a sample signature of that name for your lender. Now, if you were previously married or have a maiden name, that may show up here, and we'll collect sample signatures, for each of those names that you go by. Once you've done that, and acknowledge that those are the only names, your notary is going to notarize this document that you affirm that those are the only names you go by. This agreement is the Errors and Omissions Compliance Agreement, and this is pretty much saying if there's an initial miss, if there's something, that needs to be corrected on the document, that you are giving your lender the permission to go ahead and fix it. If they do need your assistance in correcting the error, you're also agreeing that you will provide that assistance. Please go ahead and sign and date there. This is your occupancy statement here. This, again, you would have disclosed to your loan officer when you applied for the loan. But this is really you saying whether you're going to live at the property or you're not living at the property. Is this primary residence or is this going to be an investment property for you? Based off of the answer you've given to your loan officer, that box will more than likely already be checked for you and simply ask for your signature and date to affirm that that is in fact the correct answer. This, similar to the errors and omissions, is a correction agreement. If something needs to be corrected, you're in agreement that, if the bank needs your help to correct it, you are going to work with them to correct it. Please sign and date for me there. Lastly, this is your notice of right to cancel. If you are purchasing, a primary residence, the bank is going to give you 3 business days if you decide that you want to cancel a loan or if you're refinancing. If you have one of these in your packet, it's because it's required by law that they do give you that 3 days to cancel. With this document, there's 2 things to review. The date that you have to submit this notice of right to cancel, in order to cancel it should you need to. And you do have to make sure that that is 3 business days from closing, keeping in mind Sunday is not a business day and some federal holidays are not a business day. So if you're unsure of that date, you can certainly ask your notary. They will be able to help you and if need be to correct the date. Now, anything in this box we're not going to touch here because if we do sign by in error here, we could be canceling this entire loan. What we are going to do is sign on the line at the bottom and date, and that is simply acknowledging that the bank has provided you with this notice and you do walk away from closing with copies of this notice should you decide that you need to return it and cancel any part of the transaction. And with that last document, that is closing. That is pretty much all there is to closing a deal. There may be, 1 or 2, documents more or less depending on your lender, but really no big deal. Nothing to be as nervous about, as I'm sure you thought you needed to be before coming to the closing table.
The process of closing is very simple. It can take 15 minutes to 1 hour depending upon the type of deal and the banks that are involved. You also have the right to choose your own title company to review and sign the documents. The real estate agent or lender can sometimes choose a signing agent also who can explain the documents, answer questions, and if needed, get you in touch with someone that can correct issues if there are any issues. If you don't have a company that you use or affiliated with, most realtors do. Myself, I work with Power Settlement Group. They have 11 total offices. Most of them are in Pennsylvania. One of them's in Florida. Even if you're not using a real estate agent, you need help, you can reach out to me. I'd be happy to get you in contact with Power or a signing notary. Enrique, can you explain what Go Notary does and how they can help you with real estate and other notary services?
All right. Well, thank you for that, Pete. So Go Notary primarily, is a signing agent service. So we help, buyers really complete their American dream. That's usually the happiest time, in purchasing their home. So it can also be very nerve-wracking time sitting at the closing table if you're not familiar with the document. So that's why myself and Pete, we created this video to kind of prepare you for what you're going to see at the closing table. That way, if you do know you're going to have questions, you can come in prepared with those questions. in addition to being a signing agent, Go Notary offers mobile notary services. So we travel to you when the other notaries are closed or when you just can't get to the notary. That saves you from having to take time off of work to make it to a notary office who, let's face it, are generally 9 to 5 offices. Go Notary, we can start as early as 5 a.m. or meet you anywhere at midnight. We are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we're here, for all of your notary needs.
And how would they get in contact with you?
Well, you can certainly give me a call. My telephone number is 484-773-7499. I also have a website where you can reach me and find all my information, and that is www.PA, like Pennsylvania, travelingnotary.net.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.